Okay. Excuse me. Well, which one is mine? That must have been this morning. There he is. You got it? Here you go, sir. You bet. Okay. How many more? Okay. Okay, good. Oh, here we go. Here you go, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
You
you.
bet.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow morning. No, I won't be able to be
Here
here.
you go.
Yeah, I know how you are. Yeah.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you, sir. I
You bet.
appreciate it.
Do you want one?
Yes, please.
Okay. How you doing, sir?
Hi. Oh, I got one.
Oh, you already got one. Yeah, good. Okay. Okay. Effective community outreach. There was a little girl one time that her stomach hurt. Came to her mother and said, "Mama, my stomach aches." And she said, "Have you eaten anything yet?" And she says, "No." She said, "Well, your stomach is empty. Go go get you some cereal or something, you'll feel better." Well, she did and came and hugged her mama and thanked her. Sunday came around, the preacher got up there and he said, "Folks, I got to apologize." He said, "I got a splitting headache and I hope you'll just bear with me through the sermon." So the little girl came up to him afterwards and said, "Preacher, I know why your head hurts." He said, "Why?" He said, "It's empty. You need to fill it with something." Sometimes our pews are empty because we need to fill it with something. And one of the ways that we fill it is with with effective community outreach. A church can only grow as far as it's willing to reach out to the community and make contacts. And so we need to. This is very, very important for all of us. And here you go, ma'am. Thank you very much. This is very important for all of us, no matter how big the congregation is that you're with, or no matter how small. The smaller is even more important. So, the first part of this is I want to open your books, and we're going to look at amazing outreach ideas. What can you do to do community outreach? I thought that was a pretty good T-shirt to wear, and I'll talk about T-shirts in just a minute. How many of the people within 10 blocks of the church building know about the Church of Christ? Ask yourself that. Within 10 blocks of the church building, how many people know about you? We've got to get out and we've got to make a difference. And it's going to take some amazing ideas to do that. For one thing, you can set up a booth at a local event or a county fair. At Faith Village in Wichita Falls, every year they go to the Texoma Fair, and they have a booth there, and they have a spinning wheel. And people spin it and get a number, and then they have these numbers of Bible questions that they ask. If you get 3 out of 5, you get a basket with goodies in it, or you get a Bible, whichever one you want. Now, when I was a part of that as an outreach minister before we started Home Mission, I would see people lined up there. We had more people in line to do that than in any other booth. And that's something that I got to go back. Well, now I'm having trouble. Oh, here it is. Here's back. Okay. So, another idea is wearing T-shirts or polo shirts to a local event like these people did. How can I pray for you? I mean, that's when you pray with someone, you share something very special. Have I given y'all a book? Okay. You share something very special with them, and they share something very special with you. You've made a contact. What else can you do? One big thing, especially in Texas, but it's becoming this way all over the United States, is teaching English one night a week. I mean, with the government cracking down on illegal immigration and requiring people to go through things, even if they get a green card, if they want citizenship here, they're going to have to learn English sooner or later. If a church is known for that and they can set up these ESL classes, they'll get people to come to them, and ultimately they'll get them to come to church. Here's a good way to find a good curriculum. English, I'm trying to think of it. The English, they have a group out of Austin that teaches English to people. But ESL, you can teach anybody from any language something if you'll start with just a biblical text. Start with the book of John, or start with, there's one outfit that starts with the book of Luke. They'll charge you to do that, but you can just pick up the book of Luke and you can go through it with them. Now, they have some other things, this book of Luke thing that they tell you to do, and good things, but you can do the same thing by just taking an English text. Now, what I would suggest is getting a Bible. There are Bibles out there with English on one side and the Spanish on the other. And so when you run into a blockade, and it's hard to explain an English word, especially an English idiom, like, I don't know, like keep on trucking. Well, you're having to explain some kind of idiom to them. Then maybe in Spanish, the equivalent to that in the Bible, they can see that in Spanish, but you don't want to spend much time in the Spanish. You only want to use that when you can't connect. Because what you're trying to do is teach them conversational English. I see that's the difference. When I was in high school, I worked at a hog farm. And the two guys from Mexico, and they taught me all the curse words first, because that was funny. And then I had to learn broken Spanish. But I couldn't do conversational Spanish. And that's a lot more difficult. You have to really practice it and be around people enough. People that go in the mission field, they'll actually live with people for a while that speak Spanish conversationally. And they don't pick up a lot of it, but they'll eventually get more of it as time goes on. Well, it's the same way when you're teaching people English. You have to teach them conversational English, not just words out of a dictionary. They can do that on here. I had a woman one time meet me at Walmart, and she had it all written out in English. I've got little children, I'm a mother, and I need to buy just 5 items. Well, guess what 5 items she picked out? 5 of the most expensive things that she could find. I was thinking 5 items, you know, some cereal, some milk, that type of stuff. She goes by and picks out 5 items that cost over $600. I said, no, wait a minute. No, I didn't agree to this. I think we finally got down to 120. And I said, okay, I'll pay for that. It was a scam. But she didn't know much English, but she had it all written out on her phone. And they can do the same thing, but they can't do it long. They have to learn conversational English. And by learning conversational English, you get to teach them the Bible, see? Because you're studying out of the Bible. In the beginning, in the Word, was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, they have to learn that. That makes sense to us, but to them, they have to learn these words, but they have to learn them in conversational. And they'll come to a certain extent, but I know one couple that tried to get their citizenship, and they've been here over 30 years. They've had 5 kids. They were born here. And the woman just couldn't pick it up. Well, if they had had a class like this there, she could have probably done better when she took her test. But she just couldn't pick it up. He did, but I don't think he took his test because of her. Another thing is some people have a community garden. Have y'all ever heard of a church that has a community garden? What happened in that church? Yeah. You can put like blocks of wood together and have like a square like that, you might say, or a little bit bigger. And you lease it out to them, not for money, but you know, you want to get people in the community, and they teach their children how to get their hands in the soil. That's very important for kids today, to be able to get a job to where that they can get their hands dirty. I was worried about my grandson and granddaughter that live in Mount Pleasant about their work ethic, because they like to sleep all day and play games. Well, this summer they got a job working with chickens. I can't think of any nastier work than working with chickens, except for working with turkeys. I'd much rather work with hogs than chickens. And so, at least you can use a hot shot when you work with hogs. But a community garden is a way to do that. Fall festival as well. You want to, are there places in your community that has like a county fair or a street fair or something like that that you go to? Anyone here go to a fair or a big event or something like that and set up a booth, a table? well, of course, that's the first one. But the fall festival is when you, instead of doing something on Halloween, do it on a different Saturday of the month. And doing it out in your front yard of the church building, and put those hamburgers and hot dogs on there and let that smoke off that barbecue pit just permeate around the neighborhood. And have your kids out with signs saying, free hamburgers and hot dogs, or fall festival. And you can have some games and stuff, but as we'll talk about later, you've got to get their information. So what you would do is you would put one table here and one table there, and this is the only way that they can get into it, and they have to fill out a form before they get into it. You can use, what can you use those names for? Well, you can use those names when you're having VBS in the summer. If you're having a special event. Let's say you're having a big fellowship somewhere, or singing, or something like that you want to invite them to. Then you have their names. And you want some way to be able to keep up with that. Home Mission teaches congregations the habanero ministry. And the habanero ministry is a record-keeping and contact-building system. So if you ever want Home Mission to come and do a workshop for you, that's one of the things we teach. And that has to be maintained. You have people on the red habanero, which is the hottest. They go out when you have a visitor, they go out within 72 hours with a gift in their hand, thanking them for coming. Then the yellow team follows up in 2 weeks on 4 separate occasions and tries to set up a Bible study or to get them to place membership. Then the green team, if they don't come back after that, they get moved down to the green habanero, and that's not as hot. It's not ripe yet. And so you can have them go down to the green team, and that's every quarter. Usually you take them the Power for Today, which is a quarterly, and you come back and you say, well, how did you like the Power for Today? It's just short. How many of y'all know what the Power for Today is? Anybody? Well, you can buy them from 21st Century Christian. Yeah. And you've got like a daily scripture and some thoughts about it, and a daily prayer and a daily song. And it's just on a little bitty book and a little bitty page. And you go out there right before the quarter starts and ask them, said, well, are you ready for your next book? And you have it in your hand. And they say, oh, I didn't even get to read this one. The dog ate it. Or my child thought it was a taco and he tried to eat it, or something like that, some excuse. And you say, well, that's okay. Well, here's another one. And we'll be back, we'll be back later when you need more. And that gives you 4 times a year. And that's really good to use for those who have fallen away. And there's other things you can do for them as well. But the fall festival is a lot better than trunk or treat. Why? Why is it better than trunk or treat? How many of y'all do trunk or treat? Okay, what's the problem with trunk or treat? You don't collect information. That's what you've got to do if you're going to build contacts. Another thing is every church in town is doing a trunk or treat. If you do it on Halloween time. And so that's why if you do a fall festival like 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after, or preferably 2 weeks before, then you have sole attention, and you can usually go and advertise at the elementary schools. I know in Texas and Oklahoma you can do that. And you can get a lot of kids to come out for that. And if you have it set up right, you can get the information for it. You've got to build contacts. We also teach people New Life Behavior Ministries on page 7 and 8. How many of you have heard of that? Okay, it's used mostly in the prisons, but we teach you how to use it in your community. We show you how to make a business card where all it says is, are you having problems with addictions? And you turn it over and it says, call or text this number. That's all you do. You don't say where it is, who it is, or what it is. And if they need it, and then you say, it's free, you got to put on somewhere that it's free and no obligation. And you'll be surprised how many you can get to come to that. I saw a little church in a town of less than 300. They ended up having 2 baptisms and a restoration out of it. But they couldn't keep going because the preacher had to work a 3rd job to stay there. So, but they had such success with it. And they kind of advertised in an anonymous way around town, but everybody knew where it was. So, but anyway, that's a good way. And we show you how to, now they charge for their materials, but we have a deal worked out with them to where it's about half what you would have to normally pay through them if you work with Home Mission. And we can show you how to do it in the communities, not in the prisons. Now you can work in the prisons if you want to. That's fine. But we need this in the communities, like anger management, parenting, self-esteem, CASA, which is Christians Against Substance Abuse. They've got so many good things. And their books are very professional looking, and it's very entertaining. I'd rather see a church use that material rather than use than some of the other material out there. Yes, sir? Well, for one thing, you don't have to deal with denominational teaching. And you don't have to deal with getting rid of that. Celebrate Recovery has some great teaching effects in it. But these are books. And most of the answers, some of them are thought questions, but some of them are multiple choice. And they have some humor interjected into it. When you're dealing with very serious subject, you need a little humor in it. I know that from being in preaching for ministry for over 50 years and studying with I don't know, a couple of thousand people. I mean, you got to have some humor at some time, and they interject some of it in there, like a multiple choice question. You know, I shouldn't use drugs because A, I'll get hooked on them. B, I'll die. C, I may run over and kill somebody. D, I may get a bad case of green beans. Something like that. They'll do some humor like that. But it has all the elements of Celebrate Recovery, but it also has the elements of all these other things that, like anger management, parenting. They have 14 different subjects that you can get. And so once you get through with CASA, then you can go to something else, and from something else, and then something else. Because these people have an addiction to something. And if they have a drug addiction, they probably have an anger management problem. And if they have an anger management problem, they probably don't feel very good about themselves. And by the way, the sense of awareness and self-esteem, you can get a lot of women to come to that and have a woman teach it one night a week, like on Thursday night, up at the church. You tell them, we're going to teach at church, or we're going to have it in our home, wherever you feel the safest having it. So like I say, there are a lot of the same elements in it, but they do teach the 12 steps in the CASA program, and you don't have to worry about any kind of teaching out. This is Church of Christ material. It's out of Corpus Christi from the King's Crossing Church of Christ. And I've worked with them for years. I've taught these lessons and this material. And it's great. You might want to be a pie partner with a school. Do y'all have that in the town that you're in? Partners in education? You can do that, and they'll let you come in and bring cookies to the kids, or they'll let you, even better, one church I know of had once a week they did extra training, extra teaching. They partnered with the elementary school, and if they were behind in something, in some subject, they had people up there that could teach them once a week, and they'd feed them, and that made a big difference. And then after it was all over with, they showed a film of some kind, on the side of the building. And I mean, they had, 300 or 400 people show up for that. That was huge. They didn't get their contact name. They didn't, you've got to get their names and where they live if they go through something like this and you take the time to do it. We're not in the business of handing out things to people. We're in the business of saving souls. If handing things out to people will help to save souls, then let's do it. But you're not going to get any extra points just handing things out to people. Jesus said, the poor you'll have with you always, but me you will not always have. We want to give them Jesus, is what we're ultimately trying to do. Then a vacation Bible school. Here, if you're not doing it how many of you do not do a vacation Bible school at the church that you attend? Okay. Would you like a larger church to come in and help you with it?
That might be a good idea.
Yeah. If you have a fall festival and you get names, or you have a Polar Express, which we'll talk about that, and you get names, then you got names to send invitations to. And I know a congregation right now, if you'll go back and talk with them in Palestine, I know a congregation right now that would be perfect for y'all. They're out of Waco.
Okay.
And they will come and knock doors on 2 or 3 different occasions before VBS. And you'll have a phenomenal VBS, and you'll have more contacts and follow-up than you've ever had. So go back and talk with them. Get Raymond to put the squeeze on them. Call me back as soon as you can, because Jonathan is in charge of pairing up larger churches with smaller churches. I think we have, 15 or 16 larger churches working with smaller churches now? Somewhere around there. We have 2 in Alabama. We have 1 in Oklahoma, and the rest are in Texas. 1 in Texas from Louisville, they went all the way to Cape Coral, Florida. They had 1 kid the first night, and they thought it was a failure. By the time Friday night came, they had 8. And they went to the Walmart and advertised the church. Nobody knows where the church is. But this is in a town of over 220,000 people, and they're the only Church of Christ there. And if we don't do things to help save that church, there won't be a church in that town. Now, they've come a long way, but it's been baby steps. And I had to do some damage control with Louisville and say, you don't realize how far they've come. And you don't realize how much that helped, because you gave them 8 contacts to follow up on. And that's what they need, is contacts. So that's very important. Parents' Night Out is something you could do. Now, we did this when I preached in North Houston back in the 80s. And we had a Parents' Night Out where people, I know some of you guys like me, you've raised your children. Some of you have raised your grandchildren. Now you start raising your great-grandchildren. You don't want to see another kid. But if you can come and just take turns and have a parents' night out or whatever, to where parents can bring their kids up there and they can go off to the movies, usually with a member of the church, a member of your congregation, to go to the movies together. You know, have it a foursome, or they can just have a date night. They come back and pick up their kids. You get their name, their address, their phone number, all their contact information, or they don't leave their kids. See what I mean? It's all about building contacts and teaching them the gospel. There are some people that have a blessing box. Have y'all ever seen that? How many of you have seen a blessing box? Anybody? Okay, you've seen a blessing box. What congregation do you go to? Okay, Park Freeway Church. Airport Freeway. Okay. You know, we could be teaching you this stuff at Airport Freeway if you can convince them to call our people. And I'll give you a card. Well, on the back of this book is our information that you can contact us. And but they have one. I've seen several. We did a workshop where the church in Oklahoma wanted to have a blessing box. And they put it out in the back of their building. Nobody can see it. I mean the very back corner of the back of their building. But I sat out there waiting for them to open up, and I saw one lady come up and get a bag full of stuff, and I saw a man come up and get a few cans. And then I saw another lady come up, and she had a box full of cans and stuff that she put in there. And I asked, she wasn't even a member of the church. If people see a blessing box out in front, the community will get involved and you're showing the community that you care about the poor and that you care about people that don't have enough to eat. One blessing box in Wichita Falls, there was a note left, and he said, it was a lady, she said, "Thank you so much for putting out this food every day." She said, "It's the first time in my life I haven't had to beg, borrow, or steal." And they eventually got a Bible study with her. Now, she was anonymous until later on, but I'm telling you that makes a big difference with people. And if you have a blessing, and if you make it look nice and put it out in front of your building, then all the community sees it. And a lot of them will come and contribute to it. And just like that one in Hugo, in the very back of their building, everybody in town knew about it. And so they didn't have to come knocking on the church door asking for food because it was out there in the blessing box. And but at the same time, they also knew that they could add to it. The community did. You want to check your blessing box and make sure they don't put a used popsicle or something out there in the box, and make sure it's kept up all the time. You can also put a prayer box right by it, same thing. You can have a sheet of paper that if they have prayers, they can fill it out. Okay, I got to keep you guys awake. You can have a church picnic. Now this is really interesting. I've seen churches that have done this. They'll go out to the park and they'll bring their food, or they'll bring barbecue or hamburgers or hot dogs or whatever. And they'll go out to the busiest time, like on a Saturday afternoon, where people bring their kids or whatever, or maybe a Saturday during lunch, whatever. Sometimes I've seen people have church services out there at the park. I know several churches that have done that. And they brought their food out there, and people will come up and they say, "Come on and eat with us." Well, we don't want to interrupt. "Oh no, it's free and no obligation." And they come and they worship with you. And then you learn to connect with them. We'll do that on lesson number 3 today, how to make a connection with people. That is one of the biggest problems in the church today. We don't know how to connect with people. And until you connect with people, they're not going to be willing to come in and to the church or come back. Prenatal classes. That's something I went to with that little fella right there. When before he was born, we went to a prenatal class. Well, you know, a nurse will come in. They're looking for places to hold it. And we went to somebody's church or whatever. I don't know who it was in Fredericksburg, and went through the prenatal classes and so on. But see, that was good advertisement. And they had to get everybody's name and address and phone number and everything else. And I think we got a card or two from that church. But you see how that works? I mean, you're not forcing them to do it, but you want them to do it because you can use these contacts. You'd like to build your contacts up to about 400 or 500. A church this size here could build contacts into the thousands. But you're going to have more than James Sanderson going out here and holding up Bible studies. You've got to have a lot of people involved. Friends Day. That's an easy thing for churches to do. Give yourself at least 6 months to prepare. Once selected, have a time of prayer for this date. I'm on page 13. Plan for a number at least twice the size of your congregation. Now, don't be disappointed if only 4 or 5 people show up if you're a small congregation. But that's 4 or 5 good, solid contacts that you have. Began touching up the building. A little paint here, a little repair there, cleaning, and so on. Plan on having 1 or 2 work days before the event. You see, you're getting your congregation excited about it. Then create invitation cards. A gift for you is on the front, and then you open up the card, and inside is, we invite you to come and be a part of our assembly, and it's free to come. There's going to be free gifts, and there's going to be, after church, there's going to be a free buffet. We need to quit calling our fellowship dinners potlucks to people outside the church. They don't know what a potluck is. They think it's you're handing out marijuana. Call it a buffet. A free buffet. They understand that. And that makes it sound better than it might actually be. And besides that, most church luncheons, you can get better food at a church luncheon because they're home-cooked meals than you can anywhere else. Although I've seen some pretty scanty church luncheons. But either way, if they're thinking free buffet, you got a shot at them coming. And you want to put information, you want to advertise a free Bible too. If you come, you get a free Bible. You can buy those Defending the Faith Bibles from Apologetics Press. If you buy 30 of them, you can get them for $7 a piece. You can't beat a deal like that. And they're decent size for a Bible. And they've got a lot of good teaching in them. Order on your cards, order at least 3,000 or more. Put rubber bands around 10 of them and hand them out into the communities. Start, about 2 or 3 months ahead of time handing them out. And then later on, if you see them again, hand them another card. Are you coming to our thing? Oh, I lost your card. I'm glad you gave me a card, not. Give them another card. And then you see them again about 2 weeks before and you say, hey, are you still coming? Well, I've been thinking about it. Well, here's another card. Well, I put it in your billfold. Please come. We want you to come. You may hand out 3 or 4 cards to one person, but it's worth it if you do that because you're putting in the work. That's not too hard. That's not too hard to do. And you won't run your friends off if you hand them a card that says free gifts on it. Free meals, free Bibles, free service, free child care. You want to put everything free that you can think of. And then you might want to have a campaign for Christ on page 15. We have a group called Gospel Sharing Ministries that will go out here and work with you, and they'll help you knock doors in your community. They'll come and teach you first a good system on how to save souls, and then they'll go out, and then they'll come back and go out and knock doors with you. Then there's a thing called the Blitz. The Blitz is where you just go out one Saturday with you and all your kids and go out and just knock doors around the community, maybe around the church building, and you go up to them and you say, and have a gift in your hand. And you say, are you or any member of your household a member of the Church of Christ? Have you ever done that? Instead of the Blitz is not asking for a Bible study, it's asking if anybody is connected with the Church of Christ. What are you looking for? What's a word I've been saying over and over again? Connections, connections, connections. That's what you're doing. And a youth group did that at a congregation close by here, and did that and found 3 or 4 families that way. But they also advertised the church to people that didn't even know the church existed. Then there's social networking. This is huge. How many congregations represented here have less than 50 in attendance? How many congregations have less than 20 in attendance? Okay. 50. Do you have a good website? Or do you know? You don't? Okay. Home Mission has a group called Ichthus Digital. And they'll come in and set up a smaller, like a 3-page website for you. And they'll do a $900 job for $75. And then they'll maintain it for $25 a month instead of $75 or $100 a month. And they have some people, churches in Nashville that help them, so where they're able to do that. And we've helped congregations that didn't even know what a website was or why you needed one. Once they got a website, they started getting visitors. Well, what do you know? And if you want to upgrade, do I get 1 bell or 2? What's that? Is that the second bell? That's not good. Okay, well, let's go straight to this. You got some other, Holiday Express activity. That's where they come in the pajamas in December to your fellowship place, and they eat pancakes and then go up to the auditorium and watch Polar Express. That's cool. I know a church in Iowa that did that, and it was frozen solid on the roads that day, and they had 70 kids show up. And then they had those 70 contacts, and they had 55 of those kids come to VBS the next year. That works, doesn't it? What are your ideas? Does anybody have any real quick ideas that you're doing that is successful, that where you're making contacts in your congregation, that you want to share with the rest of us? What congregation are y'all from? Wiley? Okay. What do y'all do in, what church do you go to in Waco? Lakeshore. Well, you tell that sorry preacher I said hi when you see him next time. Oh, man. Stephen's a good friend of mine. I don't know much about Wiley, but anyway, so is there anything that any of the rest of y'all do to build contacts like this that you want to share?
We do what's called a Forever His Day. It's geared for families with kids with special needs Our members are all involved, and the parents get to go and have a reprieve to go do, go on a date, or go do whatever they need to do and catch up on life while we, take care of their kids for a little while.
That is a very good idea. With your permission, I'm going to add this to the book. Very good idea, because we overlook people with special needs. And I'm going to tell you something, those parents appreciate it. They really do. So what are your plans? Well, I'll leave that to y'all. Next session, we'll go into more detail about your plans. Thank you very much. We're actually going to break down.